make it fit on the other side. A nice fast way to do that might be with the X-form. An X-form modifier, and X-form the character's right hand, and see if we can just scale it up a bit and get it to work a bit better for the other side. So let's see what happens with just bit of a scale. I'd use a soft selection on it originally, so we could have actually soft selected it here, and that might have worked a bit better. I could have used the exact same method. I did before to do it, to actually generate it in the first place. But just to illustrate that I can actually use any modeling method I want. I could also throw a lattice on there and try it with some sort of lattice. Pretty much anything you want to do it. So let's try it with an edit mesh as well. So I can use that same soft selection. Let's go into screen space here. This is a nice trick. Screen space, and set the pivot point again, and you can move it around. Get the pivot where you want. Oops. And let's just, that's not looking too bad. So we use any means available to us to get the two to sit one on top of the other. Now I'm not all that close right now. Might take a little bit more finessing to get this to sit perfectly on here. And it looks like we need to do some scaling sideways as well, or at least moving it sideways. Oops. Go back and use a better coordinate system for that. Tend to shift a lot back and forth between screen, local, view, world space, whatever happens to work best for the modeling purposes. So now I've got my new model a little closer to what I need. And what we're going to do now is we're going to extract the data off of this mesh and place it onto the underlying mesh. So all you need to do now is just simply select both meshes, back to our skin utilities, and use import skin data from mesh. Import skin data allows you to map names, and this is where naming conventions come in, are very, very important. Something I went back and did and simply didn't do on the original character was name the hands separately, but now I've gone back in and I've actually renamed the hands so that the hands are named correctly, and we can see which ones they are. These are the target bones. These are the source bones. And what we want to do is we want to basically take the source bones that we're using. So that would be the right hand that we pulled off the original source, and we want to map that to the left hand. You can do match by name, but that'll do exact naming conventions. So if you had two characters that you were trying to pull the data off this character, drop it on another that were similar but different, had different vertex counts and whatnot, you could easily pull the data off and say match by name, and they could even have different prefixes and just say remove the prefixes of each one. In this case it would be the word ogre, because we could have ogre here and Mrs. Ogre on the other side, and we could match the two together. In this case I'm going to do it manually. We're going to match the right to the left, and then we want to make sure that we've actually got the correct names, and it'll match it up based on the order that you select them in. So we knew they were in order, so I just marked select them and I got them. So now this is going to match basically right to left all the way down. Match by vertex, and there's a threshold again, and the threshold again is going to be based on the distance vertices are away from their when they're trying to match to. So it takes a little bit of playing around sometimes. Knowing your scene scale, the size of things, you can go in and check with a tape measure and see how many units it might be on average. We'll leave it at the default. You can also match by face, but I'm just going to say OK. And we can go in now and we can check the skin on this. And you can see that it's actually matched the vertices over as best as it can. Now, it's still going to be a rough guess. It's not going to be perfect, certainly, in any way, shape, or form. But it's going to try and match the bones over. I didn't scale up the entire hand, by the way. I just scaled up the mesh in this case, so all the bones don't fit in or anything. Obviously, they would have if the character had been set up this way intentionally. This is just a demonstration that you can actually pull data off one mesh, place it onto another, and they don't have to have the same vertex counts because it's using an interpolation method to get the vertices from one side to the other. Works very, very well, and I know a lot of people have used it for skinning one character and having lots of like characters and pulling the data off. You could also use it, maybe you have this character, you've skinned it, and now you've put different clothes on them, so you've put some tight-fitting clothes on them, and you want to get the information from this onto those clothes. You could simply extract the pieces you want and map them back on using the same bone names in this case, and you could map the data back onto it, and it would be a nice way to get your initial skinning started off. A very, very good time saving device when it comes to skinning characters.